Hey, travelers, how are you? Nitzan Mosri here, the traveling investor. Not sure if you can see me because I can't see myself. Oh, I love technology when it happens. It's great. Anyway, Nitzan Mosri here, the traveling investor. Welcome to another show of the Traveling Investor live Q&A, where we demystify the art of mastering your mind, body, and wallet. And, it's all about mind shift. It's all about looking perspectives, different perspectives. It's about overcoming fear. It's about overcoming challenges, and I love it. I was watching Gary V, and he was saying sometimes changing your perspective is as easy as just looking a different way. And that's what we got to do, right? Sometimes for us to become successful, we have to change our perspective. We have to change things. And if it's not working for us, I'm sorry if you guys can hear the noise. There's a lot of construction going on in the background right now, and it's funny, right? Murphy's Law. It was quiet for 20 minutes. Now, as the show started, the noise starts going on. But what we'll do here is I got a great guest for you today, and it's phenomenal. His name is Brian O'Neill, and we like to bring guests that have gone through obstacles, challenges, have overcome them, have gone through major fear, and have come out the other end with systems, processes, and successes. I don't even know if that's a word, successes. We'll just say, we'll just add that into the traveling investors lexicon right there. But it's incredible what you can accomplish when you set your mind to it and when you get over that fear. And my guest today, Brian, he's now currently, and I say that now, currently, he's an experienced real estate investor, author, coach, and podcast host. And his real estate business, he specializes in creative finance strategies to purchase properties, offering flexible solutions for both buyers and sellers. Brian uses his 25 years of phone experience to solve sellers' challenges and help them move on. He also wrote an eBook on the topic titled How to Master the Phone in 90 Days. Brian spent, get this, Brian spent 25 years in corporate sales, stuck in a job he didn't like and being away from his wife and his son. After decades of trying, Brian was finally able to break free and start his own real estate business. And now he helps other aspiring entrepreneurs in similar situations break out of their W-2 prisons through his coaching program and his podcast, the W-2 Prison Break Show, which we're going to talk about shortly. And get this, Brian believes strongly in giving back. And this is why, and these are the types of guests that we like to bring, people that want to give back to the community, that want to give back because they've gone through all those challenges, all through those obstacles, have reached success in their industry, and now are willing to share with us all of their information and knowledge on how they did it so that we can go out there and achieve the same massive success that they have. So without further ado, let's bring on Brian. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Hey, Nitzan, thanks. That was a great intro, man. You nailed it. Thanks so much. I'm humbled. Great to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to your audience today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And travelers, you're out there. I suggest getting a pen, paper, take some notes, because I spent 8 minutes before the show talking with Brian, and I got a lot out of that 8 minutes. And we're going to have here, at least 30, 40 minutes, and it's going to be phenomenal. There's going to be a lot of information. So get ready to take some awesome notes. So Brian, do me a favor. Why don't you give us a brief history of who you were back then in that W-2 world, how you got into that W-2 world, right? What was the mindset back then? And then what was let's start with that. Who were you on that W-2?
Yeah. So the mindset back then in my W-2, I did what most people are doing, what we're all kind of, for lack of a better phrase, programmed to do. I did what everyone else did. I went to school. Got good grades. My parents told me get good grades so you can get into a good college. And then right out of school, I got a job And I went to, I remember my parents used to tell me, hey, you need to look at, good something with a good management training program, right? And I went and I worked for Enterprise Rent-A-Car because they had the best management training program. And I don't regret that because it did launch my sales career, but that was my mentality growing up. Those were my downloads, right? And I believed it, and that was my trajectory. It never occurred to me that I'm supposed to become a business owner or an entrepreneur. Never occurred to me. So
Right.
that was my mindset. I went in, I dove in, I did exactly what I was encouraged and really programmed to do, and I was in that for, like you said in the intro, for 25 years. And during that time frame, it started to kind of dawn on me that there was something bigger for me. I didn't know what it was yet. I just knew that I was capable of more. I didn't fully believe it yet. That's when the seeds started planting, was early in my career, especially when I was having success in sales. Like, hey, I'm pretty good at this. Like, I can talk to people. Like, people listen to me. They know, like, and trust me. There's got to be something more for me. So that was the early years for Brian in my W-2 career.
Isn't it amazing how we all drank the Kool-Aid that they were supplying us, right? And I talk about
Mhm.
it on my webinars as well, is that, just like you said, we're taught, go to school, get a good education, go out there, go to college. And today it's, then it was masters, and now that master's degree is not enough. And now you got to go and get a double master's or a PhD. And then you come out, and most people today, they leave university with $100,000, $200,000 in debt, and they've got nothing. They've
Yeah,
got nothing. And this is
nothing.
the Kool-Aid we've all been drinking, right? I mean,
Totally.
back maybe 40, 50 years ago, when this country was being built and there was big manufacturers and there was a lot of war going on and a lot of struggle, maybe that was great back then. But today the shift we have to have a shift here, right?
Completely. And I am all about that shift because, it's no fault of my parents. That's what they were taught, and that's what they knew. And I have a different conversation with my son now. I have a young son, and I don't talk to him that way anymore.
That's right.
So it starts with me.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny, it's funny that you say that because I have two daughters and they're in high school, and they come to me like, you know what, it's so boring in school. Why do I have to go to school? I said, you don't have to go to school. I said, let's start a business. Let's start a company. Let's do something, and you'll create income. And by the time you're 18, 20, 25 years old, you'll be set for the rest of your life, right? It's a completely different tape that's playing in their ears than what was played in our ears,
Yeah. I love
right?
it. I love it. That's the right way to do it.
Absolutely. So what was it for you? You were engulfed in that W-2 world, right? You were engulfed in that job, right? And I like to say job stands for just over broke, right? They pay you enough to keep you, but not enough for you to, expand your wings and fly and go out on your own. So what was it for you that hit home so hard that after 25 years, you're like, you know what? I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
done.
It was a couple things, okay, and what had happened to me in my sales career, and I think anybody who's in sales will agree with this. Your income plateaus, right? And that's what happened to me. I had kind of reached the height of my income, and unless I was willing to trade my time for dollars and go up to a higher level corporate position and then really be married to the W-2 forever,
Mm-hmm.
I was going to stay in the same place. And what a lot of folks, higher income earners, will do, I made this mistake, is as I earned more income, my lifestyle didn't stay the same. So I did what most people do. Again, this is all like, you watch this, you're programmed. Go get the bigger house, go buy the nice car for your wife, go on vacations. I didn't really manage the situation the right way. Looking back, I would have done that. So that situation there, Nitsan, kept me stuck in that job. It's like, okay, I've created this lifestyle. Now I got to stay in it because no one at my age is going to hire me and pay me that much money. So I felt stuck. I was like running on a treadmill. I was like, man, this is just, I don't know what to do. Well, Fast forward a little bit because I knew that I had something in me. I just wasn't willing to go backwards. Right. I didn't know how to get out of that lifestyle that I had created. I have a son, and he's almost 11 right now. He's almost 11 years old. When I was in my old W-2, my job, I was traveling heavily, 100,000 miles a year. I was gone every other week. I would come back from trips, and he'd look different. He's speaking different. Now I'm missing this kid grow up, and that ate away at me. I'm away from my wife. And then when he got to the age where he understood what was going on, he used to say to me, "Hey, Dad, I don't like it when you leave. You know, I'm scared to be in the house with Mom alone." So you can imagine what that would do to a man, right? I'm already bummed out about not chasing my dreams, and then I got my son telling me this. So that pushed me over the edge. It was shortly after that where I just made the decision, like, I'm not going to be scared anymore, and I'm going to figure it out and figure out a way to do this.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
So, what I was hearing, I like to read in between the lines and pull stuff out, is that your why suddenly became huge. Your why was like, listen, man, this kid, my son, right? I'm not seeing him. I'm not spending time with him. Your priorities shifted.
Mm-hmm.
Your priorities shifted, and those priorities overcame your fear to go out and to do what you wanted to do, right? So, and a lot of people out there have dreams, right? They have these great dreams, and just like you said, and I had the same thing about myself, and and a lot of people listening, they have that sense of greatness. There's something more inside of me. Life can't just be sitting behind a desk, right? Can't be traveling and missing your family. And you weren't really traveling. You were, because travel, when people think of traveling, like, the traveling investor, it's like fun, hiking and mountains and skiing and boating. You were going away for business.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a pleasurable thing. And here your family is being left behind. And it takes a lot of balls. It takes a lot of balls to sit there and to say, you know what, I'm going to cut that off. And I'm going to go do something that may lower our income in the beginning, but in the long run, the long journey, right? The long game, it's going to benefit my kids, my wife, myself, my family, because what happens is you then become a different person. You're happier, you're more energetic, you got more passion, desire, and it just comes out in the whole family and life setting.
Agreed. Wonderful. And just to add to that too is, you mentioned I became a different person. One of the things that allowed me to do what I did is I became a different person, or I started becoming a different person before I was able to get to the point where I said, okay, enough is enough. Like, for anyone listening, if you expect your world to change, I talk about this all the time. If you expect your world to change, you got to start right here. You got to start with within. You can't expect that, well, if I quit my job, my life's going to get better. Okay. Or if only this happened, if only I could do this, then it would be better. You got to change your inner world first. That just, takes, for a lot of people, that's a difficult thing to do. It was super difficult for me. And I put it off for a good couple of decades before I actually looked internally, and I was like, oh, this is what's been stopping me the whole time.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. So you were fortunate that you were able to make that decision for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How many people out there, in our age, 40s, 50s, right? They already have the family, just like you said. They've got the life on that path, and then suddenly it's taken out from under them. They lose the job. The industry that they're working in disappears, right? Things are moving so fast today with technology that complete industries and different technologies become extinct because of the way technology is advancing, that suddenly at the age of 40, 45, 3 kids, 2 kids, 1 kid, car, mortgage, whatnot, they're left without income. And they're going, oh my God, what do I do? Right?
Yep.
So it's better to make that decision on your own than to have someone make that decision for you.
A great coach of mine, my coach, okay, this is, and by the way, not having a coach was one of the mistakes that I made for all those years, right? Someone to help me. That's what I was scared of. He said to me when I was thinking about leaving the job, he said, listen, Brian, the W-2 is the risk. The job is the risk. I never, ever thought of it that way until he said that. And he was 100% right. And it is, you're expendable. You are 100% expendable. Don't ever think that you're protected. It can happen in the blink of an eye. You know, after the '08 crash, I survived 3 rounds of layoffs. And, you know, the salespeople are always the last to go, right? Because you start firing the salespeople, then you're going out of business. But that's when the light went off for me. It was like, hey, if this happens again, I'm done. And I'm in that 40s age range of like, no one's going to hire me and pay me this much money. I'm going to have to start over again.
That's right. That's right. And where do you go from there, right? What do? You find a job, you take a pay cut,
yep.
Right? Suddenly you find yourself cooking fries at McDonald's or Wendy's, and you're working that window. It's not something that you want your children to see their idol going through, right? And totally. And it'll definitely shake you to your core.
It did. And sometimes that's a jolt we need to move, right? To start living the way that we've always dreamed of.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this now. So you were that W-2, you had that aha moment. You realized that you didn't want to stay there. Why real estate?
Great question.
What made you jump into the world of real estate when there's so many other shiny pennies out there?
And let me tell you that I looked at all those shiny pennies. Okay. And you know, I think that was one of the things that kept me where I was, is that I just kind of dabbled in it, right? Like hey, let me go learn about this. This will distract me from the life that I hate. So I'll go learn about something else, dabble in it, never really take any serious action. Real estate I was always fascinated with. I mean, the story here is I used to beg my parents when I was younger, can we go look at model homes? You know, I just loved everything about real estate. I love looking at houses. I mean, every house I've ever bought has been a brand new build. So I just like the idea of construction and building real estate. And then when I started to learn about it, like, hey, this is really, you know, people who are wealthy, you know, when I started reading listening to podcasts or reading books, it's like the commonalities between people who are wealthy, real estate was one of them. They all invest in real estate. So I said, okay, this is one of my goals. Let's look at real estate. And then once I picked real estate, I had to avoid the shiny object syndrome, which was okay, I'm going to do flips, I'm going to do rehabs, I do a little bit of wholesaling, do some multifamily. It's like, no, you got to pick a lane and go at it and focus and commit. And when I did that, that's when I found success.
Right. Yes, I agree. You know, especially in real estate, right? Like you said, so many shiny pennies in real estate, wholesaling, flipping, tax liens, tax deeds, foreclosures, short sales, single family, multifamily, self-storage, commercial, medical, right? And I was just like you when I was, you know, about 13 years ago, when I was getting involved in multifamily, I was looking to see what else was out there. And I was running and checking all those different shiny pennies as well. And just like you, my mentor told me, pick a lane and become the expert in that lane. Know it like the back of your hand, because that's what's going to make you successful. Right. And 13 years later, here we are, you know, got multifamily properties, you know, I got my podcast I'm, you know, have guests, you know, successful guests like yourself on the show. It's because you pick that lane and you dive into it. Right. And like you said, you know, sometimes we look around and we're going, yeah, real estate, right? Real estate looks fairly easy, right? You buy a house, you fix it, you sell it, right? Buy low, sell high, whatnot, right?
Yeah.
What were some of the major obstacles and challenges you had getting involved in real estate?
Yeah. Okay. So the first one was starting, right? But I didn't do what I did before and try to do it on my own. So I got a mentor. I got hired a coach. Okay. And for anybody out there listening, the greatest investment you can make is in yourself. You know, we spend all this money going to school. We spend it on coaches. We spend it on, you know, school. And then we get out of school and we don't spend any money. You know, we can drop 50 grand on a car or a couple hundred, $300,000 on a house, but we don't spend a dime on ourselves. It just baffles me. However, I was like that, so I get it. You have to invest in yourself first to learn so that you don't make the same mistakes. Like, and do it with somebody who's done it before and is currently doing it. Like, don't hire the mentor that did it 20 years ago.
Right.
In the trenches now would be my advice. That was the first thing I did is I got a coach because I said, look, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it the right way. I know I'm going to make mistakes, but I just need somebody there to kind of hold my hand and help me. So that was step number one. And then I just, I'm getting to the point where I've already committed. I got my strong why, right? Like, I'm not going back to this job. I'm getting out of this job. I'm not doing this anymore. And I just had the mentality that I don't need to conquer the world day one. Okay. You just need to be consistent on a daily basis. And if you have a bad day, it's okay. Just shake it off and go back tomorrow. You don't have to chop the whole tree down day one. Just consistent daily action, create small wins, create momentum, and then you'll start seeing results. And don't focus on the outcome, focus on the process.
Right. Beautiful. Beautiful. No, that's absolutely. So how, there are people out there that want to get started. Where would they find mentors? And how did you find yours?
Yeah, it's interesting too, because I, like you, wanted to do multifamily syndications. Like, I love the idea of apartment syndications and it's tremendous. The cash flow, the forced depreciation, the depreciation. I mean, it's all just tremendous. My issue was, I just wasn't confident back then when I was looking, is I was uncomfortable investing my own money, which I had. So I had fear of investing my own money. And then I was even more uncomfortable asking other people to invest alongside me. So it was right around that time where I was listening to a podcast. It's a multifamily podcast that I was pretty married to. And my current coach is on there talking about how he bought his office building on owner financing. And I said, that's exactly what I need right there. And I went right to him, reached out to him. And, we had a conversation, and he's still my coach. He's taught me everything I know about this business, about creative financing. And, that's made it much easier for me, because I probably would have screwed it up if I did it on my own. I would have got there, I think, eventually, but it was a much faster trajectory for me knowing that I had the support of someone who's done it before. And again, it was like the light bulb went on. I'll never be without a coach again, ever. I will never not be without a coach again. I have multiple coaches, and I made that mistake, and I won't make it again.
That's beautiful. I agree wholeheartedly. I myself, I went to college, never graduated. I spent 4 years partying on my dad's dime. And then after 4 years, he's like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So, but at an early age, I found a mentor. I found someone I found a guy who had what I was looking for, right? The lifestyle. The passion, the desire, the health, the cash flow, all of that. And I said, all right, you know what? Teach me, show me. And he said one thing very simple. And travelers, if you're listening, you should write this down. He said, find someone who has what you want, do what they did, and you'll get what they got. Right? Simple, to the point, dead on.
Yep.
Right?
It truly is that simple. I think as human beings, we try to overcomplicate everything. And it really is that simple. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Imagine if your neighbor was a super successful real estate investor or whatever. Don't you think you would go over and ask them how they did it and see if you could, pick their brain? I don't necessarily like using that term, but just find out how they did it, right? Mm-hmm. Listen to the story. That's ultimate. You don't need to go rogue and go against what they did. Like, this already works. I did it. Just follow what they did and listen and be coachable. I would say that too to any student, because I came in with the mentality that I knew everything, right? I didn't need anybody's help. I'm 40 something years old. I got it all figured out. I already went to college. I got my degree. It says I'm smart, right? I don't need anybody's help. Right. And then, fast forward 25 years later, I'm still in the same job, and there's all these people blowing by me. So surrender to the fact that people know more than you, and be okay with that, because you want them to know more than you. That's how you grow. Okay. Being the smartest person in the room is always a bad idea.
Absolutely. I never want to be the smartest person. Whenever I think I'm the smartest person, I kind of leave and I want to find another room.
Yeah.
Because if I'm the smartest person in the room, that room ain't that smart.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. But we know what you mean. You need somebody to push you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. I tell it to my kids, and I'm sure you say it to your son, you hang around with five schmucks, you're the sixth schmuck.
Yeah.
You hang out with five passionate, successful people, guess what? You're going to turn out to be the sixth passionate, successful person because you're going to feed off of their knowledge, their success, their wisdom, their mindset, right? They're going to bring you up. You're not going to bring them down.
Completely agree. And who you hang out with matters. It really does. I mean, I when I started investing in real estate, I remember a friend of mine that I've known since I was 16 years old said to me after I told him what I was doing, he says, "Wow, that sounds kind of risky." And no fault to him, right? Love the guy. He just didn't know. He just didn't understand because he's stuck in
Mm-hmm.
that old world, that other mentality where like, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. Take your paycheck, stuff as much money in your 401k as you can and get your free health benefits and retire maybe at 65.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I remember, when I was starting out 13 years ago, when I moved to Florida, I was living in Israel before, and then we
Hmm.
moved to to Florida in '09, right when, in the heart of the crash and whatnot. And I was actually doing single family fix flips and whatnot. That was the lowest hanging fruit. And I was buying houses for $16,000, putting 5K into them, flipping them for $50,000. And, I didn't have a lot of money. So I was going out to my friends, and I was, my W-2 friends, and I'm going, hey, listen, you got 10 grand? I don't need 100. I don't need 10 grand. I'll guarantee you 10% on your money. Oh, no, 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 that's too risky. That's too risky. I said, what's risk? What is risky about it? I'm guaranteeing you 10%. No, 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 no. I said, okay, do you want to come in as a partner and then we'll split the profit? No, 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 no. And then you know what? 25 years later, that guy found himself unemployed because his company that he was working for went belly up because that industry became extinct,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And like you said, it's just a mindset. The and he kept at, and it's funny that you mentioned that we have the same experiences because he kept telling me, he goes, dude, what you're doing is risky. I said, what I'm doing is risk. I said, what you're doing is risky. You're sitting there 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. You're building somebody else's empire for them. I would come in and I would stop in at his office all the time because I'm driving around looking for houses and doing deals. And I would swing by his office, and guess what? The owner of the company was always out hunting and fishing and on his boat. And guess who was at the desk answering the phone? My friend.
Hmm.
And I'm going, dude, don't you see the risk here? And it's just being able to break out of that mold, break out of that chain, like you said, the prison, that W-2 prison, but it's a mind prison.
It truly is. And you don't even know you're in it. That's the thing
Mm-hmm.
is that I didn't know I was in it. I
Mm-hmm.
thought that this was normal and it just took a long time. So now I'm on a mission to help people recognize it much, much sooner because I think we all know deep down, I wasn't necessarily, I definitely wasn't living my best life. I was upset, I was miserable, and it wasn't just because of my job. It was because of a lot of other things that I hadn't done in my life. Regret can eat you up. And it does, especially when you shove it down, right? Which is what a lot of us men do, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
we're too proud to be vulnerable and talk to people, and that which is nonsense. I mean, we're human beings just like everybody else. So it wasn't until I started doing that type of stuff to where my life started to change. It's like, do I want to keep living this way and die an old person unhappy and I never fulfilled my dreams, or do I want to take a crack at it and give it a shot? And that's ultimately what the decision that I made, and my son helped me decide that. I'm forever grateful for him.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
I tell my coaching clients, we went on the first introductory call that we have together. I asked them, I said, tell me, what is the most expensive piece of dirt on planet Earth? And then, like, oh, the Empire State Building, the building in Dubai, that. I said, no. I said, it's a cemetery, because that cemetery is filled with hopes and dreams and passions that were never fulfilled. And people were so scared that they never went and they never attacked their dreams, that they died unfulfilled. And that's why a cemetery is the most expensive piece of dirt, because it has all those dreams, you know, an idea that could change civilization. I mean, imagine if, I don't know, Jonas Salk would have been like, no, 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 I'm not gonna go and do that vaccine, or or Elon Musk, you know what, I'm not gonna try going to Mars or create that electric car, or PayPal. We would not be where we are today.
Totally. I agree,
Right?
100%. That's a great. I love that. The most expensive piece of dirt is the cemetery. I like that. I wasn't sure what you were going to say.
Cool, man. So, all right. So we went from where you were, what that shift was, how you got into real estate, the mentoring, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about what you're doing currently in real estate, because I like what you're doing with that creative stuff. But you tell us.
Yeah. So creative financing or terms, and again, this is my niche. This is really all I do. I could do some other things that I might, but this is really what I focus on. And I approach every day as, who can I help? All right. Now we all know the market. We hear, you turn the news on, the market is just on fire and everything's flying off the shelf in 2 minutes and people are lining up to buy houses. I can tell you definitively that is not the case. Okay. I can tell you that in any market, for anyone thinking about getting into real estate and I can't do deals, or, this isn't going to work, in every market, there is death, divorce, job loss, job relocation, inherited properties, tired landlords. We talk to them every single day. So they exist. You just got to go out and find them. So go out and see who you can help. The retail buyer, nice, pretty house fixed up, I can't help them. They don't need me, and that's fine. I'm looking for people who have problems. And so creative financing is essentially, I buy homes without having to go get cash or bank debt to take over the property. There's
Hold on a second. Listeners, did you hear what he said? Say it again, Brian.
Creative financing, I go buy properties without having to use any cash or get bank debt to take control and or ownership of a property.
Other people's money.
Correct.
Beautiful.
Correct. So my mentality is, why would I go get a bank loan to pay off another bank loan? It's just a bad business decision for me in the way that I buy homes. And I use the existing leverage on the house while solving the seller's specific problem. They lost their job. They can't afford their house. They got divorced. They have to relocate. They couldn't sell. All these different scenarios. And I solve their issue, and the real estate then becomes mine, whether I control it with a lease option or I own it and buy it on seller financing. Here's a fact. 1/3, it's probably higher than that now, 1/3 of all homes in the United States are owned with no debt, free and clear, which means that the seller of the house has the ability to finance you, to act as the bank. And if you're able to this is why I wrote this book, Master the Phone in 90 Days. If you're able to have skillful conversations with a seller and solve a problem, you can make a lot of money buying homes with the seller financing you versus having to go to a bank or raise private money even for the down payment. We buy houses with no money down.
You buy houses with no money down. You get the seller to finance it for you. You're coming in as a knight in shining armor on the white horse, coming to save the day because you know the problems that they have. And you're saying, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I'm here to solve your problem.
Yeah, that's all it is solving problems. And it's, you don't have to, I don't have to do thousands of these deals, right? Because of the way that we structure them and the way our exit strategy, we don't have to do a lot of them. So it's just a matter of being consistent and sticking with it every single day and having the understanding of the mentality that we're looking to help people, not try to cut their knees out from under them.
Right. All right. So maybe take us through the process a little bit, of exactly, kind of like what you do. How do you find the house, right? Mm-hmm. What are you looking for? How do you approach the owner? The whole, just quick process.
Love it. So I'll give you like a typical deal. We are normally calling sellers who are actively trying to sell. Okay. Cause that's motivation number one. Real estate is all about motivation. right? Sellers need to be motivated. If they're not, then you're not going to buy their house in an unconventional way, and you're definitely not going to get a discount on it. So we're looking for, if we're talking to people, let's just say you have your house on the market with an agent and your listing agreement expires in 6 months. Well, we get notified of that. We call the seller, we reach out, and we have a conversation with them. And the conversation, and this is all in the ebook. So if you go to don'tfearthephone.com, you can get the book, and this whole script's in there. What we're trying to do is find out a few things. Very, very simple. Look, I always call them up and say, hey, look, I'm a local investor. We saw your house was for sale. We want to see if it's still available. Yes. Okay. I'm just curious. Why did you take it off the market? Let them talk. Well, my realtor didn't do a really good job. I just wasn't really happy with him. Okay, great. I've had that happen to me before. Is there any particular reason? It looks like a great house. Why are you selling it? Well, I got to relocate. I got a job in Texas. I got to move. I can't stay here. Okay, when do you need to be there by? Well, next month. Okay, so now I have why they're selling and where they're going, and then I know when they're going to be there. So that right there. If I hear that, that's motivation. Like they couldn't sell, they got to move, and now I can help them. I'll ask them a couple more questions to get them talking. Like, hey, does it need any repairs? What's the roof like? I mean, is there anything major that needs to be done? Oh yeah, you might have to do a little paint. I don't care about that. And then I would ask them, I said, look, what are you hoping to get for it if you did sell it? They give me a number. I don't spit the number out. I know what it's listed for, but I ask what you're looking to get. A lot of times when you ask that question, you'll get discounts right there. So if it's listed for 400, they might say 380. I said, okay, well, hypothetically, if I could do that, would you be open to selling on terms, lease, purchase, or owner financing? What's that? I explain it. They say, yeah, I'd be open to that. And then I'll do one of two things. I'll either, book the appointment to go see them and see the property and then get more into the numbers, or I'll send them some information and then I'll book a follow-up call and answer any questions. But you notice that the conversation, I have these conversations all the time, and so does my team. It's very simple. I'm not trying to convince them of anything. I'm just trying to find out what their motivation is and if they would be open to this idea of selling in a non-conventional way.
That's beautiful. I love it. And I like what you said. You're not trying to shove anything down their throat. You're just pulling information out, and then you're kind of just going back and saying, hey, this is what I can offer. Right?
Yeah.
We have a question that says from Christine. She says, awesome. Is Brian also calling multifamily owners? Brian, I think you're just doing single family right now.
I am that, but I do call multifamily owners, and because I run across that, because they can be on the MLS. And Christine, I'll answer that question as well. I have done this, and you can look. Terms is if the seller is open to it, you can buy anything on terms. Boats, cars, multifamily, anything. As long as the seller is open to it, you can do it. Multifamily is definitely part of that. I've had conversations with sellers who own multifamily buildings, free and clear, or even with debt, and the conversations is very, very similar. It's a little bit different. Now, I just pull targeted lists to find the multifamily units in my area, and I'll either mail or call them.
Right. She's asking also, is price and motivation the only two things that sell?
No, my conversations are typically never around price. It's a specific problem that they have that I can solve better than anyone else, right? Price always comes up, but I normally, instead of price, and this is the tweak between what's the price that you're hoping to get, when I get into a deeper level conversation with a seller, especially on a single family house, I say, look, if you sold the house, if you did sell it, what was the amount that you were hoping to walk away with after you paid your realtor, your closing costs? Like, what's the net to you? You'd be amazed at how many people don't know that, by the way. But then they'll tell you, well, I was hoping to get 50 grand. And then you add in the mortgage that they owe, the balance, and all of a sudden that $400,000 house is now down to 350. So I always focus on what they want versus the price that they're thinking. Because again, right, when you list something, you got to pay all these people. They don't need to pay. I don't charge any fees or commissions. So it's you really focus on the motivation and then making sure that their goals are met. Like, what do you need to get? What do you need to break free from this house? Well, I just can't afford it anymore. Well, if I took over your payments, would you sell it for what you owe?
Right.
Yeah.
So where do you see the market right now with single family homes, interest rates going up? A lot of people are probably going to be, insurance rates are going up. I know,
Mm-hmm.
we talked before the show, you're originally from South Florida. I live in South Florida. Christina's from South Florida as well. Uh, Insurance rates are doubling and tripling right now, and people aren't going to be able to pay their insurance premiums because they're going so high. So do you see that as another wave that's coming onto the market?
I do, and I just disclaimer: I don't predict market conditions. I just stick
Really?
with
You
it.
don't, you don't, you don't have a crystal ball in front of you?
I
It's the
lost
Dallas
it.
Cowboy hat behind you. You kind of rub it. And
Yeah, maybe I'll try that. That might work. But I'm going to give you my opinion. I think I'm right, but we'll see what happens. But the main thing I try to do is just show up every day. Right? Has it been harder to get deals in the last 12 months? 100%. But if you're consistent and stick with it and have belief in the process and the system, it's all about to turn. I'm telling you, I'm talking to sellers right now who have been on the market for the last 90 days that haven't been able to sell because their buyers fell through because the interest rates went up. Like we're hearing that conversation every single day. And these are nice houses, not like, houses that need $50,000 worth of work. So this is going to happen continuously. And then even with higher priced homes, a lot of folks think that you can't do terms on higher priced homes. And we talk to $1 million sellers all the time. They have even more pain because they already are swimming in a very small pond of limited buyers. Okay, that can't qualify. So unless they're a cash buyer, they're going to have a hard time getting a jumbo loan. So absolutely, I see another wave coming here, and we're ready for it.
That's beautiful. Talk to us a little bit about the team that you have, right? How do you find the leads, right? Who's behind the scenes doing all this for you?
Yeah, and it's happening right now while we're doing this. So that's the important thing about being a business owner is you can't take the W-2 mindset into your business. That's a huge mistake. You have to build systems and processes in place so that you can build the business. And ultimately, like you said, the business owner was hunting and fishing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have a team we're calling sellers every single day. We're following up. One of the things that we're doing here now is sellers who told us, well, I don't need that. I'm going to sell. Would you keep it as a plan B? Can we follow up with you? Yes. Well, we're calling these people now, and now we're booking appointments to go see them. So the initial call is important, but your follow-up is even more critical. Okay. Here's something I learned from a marketing expert that I had on my podcast a while back. She said to me, and she does mailings. We do all calling, but mailing or calling, it's the same concept. 80% of your deals will come on or after the fourth attempt. And 90% of your competition will quit after the third attempt. So what does that tell you? You got the follow-up, the keys in the follow-up. And I knew this from sales too, but you have to stick with it. You can't just go at it one time. You got to, I'm sure in your multifamily business, you don't just call up try to hit a deal one time. You're probably following up in some cases for years.
Oh, before we talked, I told you we got a property in Buckhead under contract. Mm-hmm. It was about a 2-year relationship talking to the seller before he was like, okay, I'm willing to sell. 2 years, right?
Yep.
So yeah, it's all in the follow-up. And talk about follow-up, right? In multifamily, and I'm sure the same thing with you. We put an offer we'll put an offer and somebody else will beat us on price or terms, whatever it is. And I tell my people, just like you do, I said, follow up. Every 2 weeks, call the broker and go, hey, how's that closing coming along? Hey, how's that closing coming along? And you would not believe how many times 45, 50 days later, the broker calls up and says, you still interested? Well, what happened? Well, they, blah, blah, blah. It's actually happened to me here. I'm now in Northwest Arkansas. I think I told you, in my lake house. And I'm looking at a 16 unit, small, but it's in downtown Bentonville, right down from Main Street. And Bentonville is just blowing up. It's the home of Walmart and whatnot. She had a buyer at 3.2 million. I told the agent, I said, let's just submit an offer now. Tell her to keep it on her table. If the buyer falls out, she's got it there, you know. And I met with the owner and we toured the property. And she said, yeah, I have a buyer that's coming in from New York. They haven't seen the property. I said, all right, here, take the offer. And guess what? A week and a half later, she called. She didn't call me. My broker, my agent who found it, he says, hey, your offer was accepted.
Nice. Yeah.
You never know, but you got to follow
you
up.
don't. You do have to follow up totally. And
Right.
we train our team. To your point, I answer your question. I have a small team, and that's all it takes in this business. Sometimes is I have a couple of VAs who call. I have an assistant, and then I obviously have my accountants and my lawyers and all that stuff, and
Yeah.
you know, my contractors. But we're just at it every single day, and the follow up is just crucial. If somebody says, "Well, I sold it," we'll ask them, "Did you sell it? Did it close? Or are you just under agreement?" Because that's the mentality of a seller. Like, I sold it. Like, no, you didn't. You didn't sell until the money's in the bank. So
That's right.
is it okay if we follow up with you, you know, after that closing date, just to check? And we do. And again, a high percentage of the time, it doesn't close. Something happened. Something fell through.
Oh, absolutely. And like we mentioned earlier, especially in today's market, you know, you go out there. It happened to me. You know, I put my multifamily out. You know, the broker listed it at $10 million that week. And I got two offers.
Mm-hmm.
We were about to sign a contract, and then interest rates went up, and they both pulled out. They pulled back. They said sorry, and price dropped about $1.5 million because of the interest rates.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So it happens to all of us. You know, if you're in the game, it's going to happen to you, right? You got to be prepared to follow up, follow through, and just keep that ball moving forward.
You got to be in the game. That's lesson number one. Listen, I can guarantee you one thing about the market. People are going to complain about it regardless of whether it's great, good. It doesn't make any difference. In 2019, people were whining about it. COVID hit. 2020, people were whining about it. Then it was a hot market. You couldn't do deals. And now we're about to have a correction. Everyone's whining. Just like I just say to everyone, I don't mean that I'm just being sarcastic here, but just quit worrying about the market. Turn the TV off. Turn the TV off. Quit listening to them. They don't know what they're talking about. And go talk to people. Mm-hmm. Go talk to people and go solve problems. And you are going to do very well if you can have that mentality. That I promise you.
Absolutely. One of my investors, he flew up to New York and he texts me and he goes, I just spoke to one of my guys in New York. I'm like, one of your guys? What guy? Well, the homeless dude on the street? What do you mean one of your guys from New York, right? And he goes, he said that this market now is unstable and we're going to get a correction and the ball's bouncing and no one knows where it's going to land. I'm like, that's pretty much every month in real estate. No one knows where it's going to land. No one knows what's going to happen. You turn off that and if you buy it right, if you buy it at the right price with the right terms and you're not overly aggressive on your projections and you're not blowing things out of the water, right? There's always a place, right, where you can make money in real estate. I like the phrase, right? When is the best time to get this? The two best times to get in real estate was 20 years ago and today.
Yep. That's right. And there's always pivots too. Even if you do a bad deal, there's always pivots. There's always, you're not married to it. So you just have to get in the game, really.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I agree 100%. So you're in there, you're now, let me ask you. So when you're doing seller financing and whatnot, are you using your own capital to come in with any of the equity? Do you have investors that you partner with?
Yeah, both. So look, some sellers, especially who are free and clear, may not necessarily accept a no down payment. I mean, our if we had it our way, we would schedule, let's just say, for example, I'll give you a good example. If you can buy a house, a $200,000 house, and get a 4-year term with the seller, 48 months, principal only payments, and sell this to a buyer on a lease to own or a rent to own situation, you have a 6-figure deal. Okay. Mm-hmm. 6-figure deal. And you put down zip.
That's beautiful.
So those you don't have to do a lot of those. How many of those do you have to do to hit your goals? Right.
Right.
So, and that just comes with the skill of having to speak to these folks and solve their problem. But yeah, some sellers will want 10% down. It's like, I don't have an issue with that if the deal looks good and I get the term that I want. And then, yes, I can do one of two things. I can raise private capital and pay a return on that. Absolutely. There's a lot of people out there who have money and don't want to be involved in real estate but want the returns. I can use the money from a buyer, like our buyers give non-refundable deposits, so we can take that and then I still get a free house, if you will. So if I get 20 grand from a buyer or 15 grand from a buyer, I give 10 to the seller, then I'm still left with a delta. We can take it from other deals. We can do installment plans. There's so many ways to do these creative deals. It's just you have to get creative and learn and never offer. Like I always ask the seller, like, what is it that you want? And would you be open to this? Could we do it this way? Especially if they have a problem. So it's just a matter of having a conversation with the seller. And I try not to make any offers. If you do and this is in my book too, if you do this the right way, the seller will write the deal for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I've done a couple of creative financing deals myself where I bought using creative financing. I've sold using creative financing. We just did a deal where we seller finance for 99 years an office building in Manhattan.
That I don't care what you bought it for. That math works.
We're done.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
99 years. They pay for everything, and at the end of the day, every month we get our boom, right? Our mailbox money.
That's
right?
beautiful.
Yeah, so it's creative financing is the way to go, and there's ways to do creative financing on single family homes, on multifamily, on any type of real estate, on land and whatnot. A lot of people, and I was talking about this yesterday on a webinar that I was doing, is that most people in this country, or probably in the world, the only real estate that they've ever bought was their primary residence. And how do they buy it? They came out with a deposit from their own pocket. They bought it. They got the loan on their name, and that's it. And that's what they know. So when they're thinking, oh, I got to go into real estate. Oh, I can't afford that $500,000 home. Where am I going to come up with that money? How am I going to do this? I can't get financing for that. My credit score is terrible. When you're doing creative financing, you don't have to worry about your credit score. You don't have to worry about your income. It's a complete different game. And
Nobody's ever asked me for my credit or my bank statement. And that's the other thing too, is that, there's only so many houses you can buy.
Right.
A lot of people will hang on to their W-2 to buy real estate. Well, you can only buy so many. Creative is unlimited. You can buy as many houses as you want, because again, you are not qualifying. The loan's already there.
Right. So let me ask you. So you're able to do financing for people that don't have debt on their homes, that they own their free and clear. How do you go about buying someone's home that has a mortgage on it already? Yeah,
and this is really, what you want to go after or try to land when you're doing creative financing, is you want to find the seller that's willing to sell you their property subject to their existing loan. Okay, so the existing financing stays in place. They have a major problem. I'm going to see a gentleman actually tomorrow, and his motivation is he wants to move. He wants to move. The house is too big. He inherited the house. This happens every day. Okay, you get into probate or inherit, you never run out of leads ever, because people are unfortunately passing away every day, and inherited properties are all over the place. So there's a loan in place, and he wants a certain amount of money to move. And I just said to him, I said, look, if I could do that for you and take over your payments, would you sell it? Would you sell it for what you owe? And I'll give you some money to move. Yeah, I just want to move. So that, that's the conversation. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. I don't have to convince him of anything. I just ask him a question. He says, yes. And so let's just say that transaction happened. Okay. The loan stays in place. The deed to the house transfers to my entity. I own it. Okay. So the deed is in my name, or we would put it in a trust, right? It wouldn't be in my personal name. Right. The loan gets paid every month by my business. So we just we send the mortgage payments in every month. It's business as usual. And we would replace the insurance policy because we have to have our own policy. And then the seller goes on and doesn't have to worry about the house. In 15, 20 years or whatever, I'll call and be like, hey, John, we paid your loan off. That's it. They can move on. I mean, now the seller has to be comfortable with leaving the loan in place because their credit's on the line. but we
Right.
do what we say we're going to do, right? But
Right.
that's how it can. And now, if I do that, I have the deed. I can do whatever I want with the house. I own it, so I can go finance somebody else. I can do a long-term rental. I could do Airbnb. I could do a bunch of different things. I like to
Mhm.
do long-term financing with a buyer who is self-employed and doesn't look good on paper, but they got plenty
Mhm.
of qualifications.
Right.
That's the beauty of it. And then they take care of the property. And as you mentioned earlier, we get the mailbox money every month.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Awesome, man. Travelers, so much information was given here. I hope you've been taking advantage of it, right? Awesome. Brian, how can people, well, I know you said you keep talking about your free book. Travelers, Brian is giving us a free book for you to read and learn, and it's right there on the screen. It's www.don'tfearthephone.com. Download it, learn it, put it to memory and use it, because this stuff could make you tons of money. And like Brian, like you said, how many houses do you need to do to be able to achieve your dream, right? I like to
Exactly.
say, I like to say you're only one deal away from, and then just fill in the blank.
That's right. That post-it note lives on my computer. So I love that. I love the way you ended that.
That's beautiful, beautiful. Well, Brian, you know what? It's we've been talking here for an hour. Thank you so much for being here. How can people reach out to you if they've got a home to sell, if they want to buy a home, if they want to rent one, if they want to know more about your coaching program and how they can do what you do?
Yeah, definitely. So if you're listening to this and you have a house to sell, or maybe even you want to buy one, you can go to our website at bkwpropertysolutions.com. There's a bunch of information on there, and there's a contact form you can fill out. If you want to talk about coaching, and because I do have a coaching business and I help people transition just like I did out of the W-2, you can email me at Brian at W2prisonbreak.com. That's Brian at W2prisonbreak.com with an I. And I'd be happy to chat with you and give you some resources. I also will say in the book that you'll have some resources on how I learned the creative financing business. So that's in there as well if you want to take advantage of it.
That's fantastic. Brian, thank you so much for being here. I know you're super busy, and I appreciate you taking the time out to come and to share with us all your information, where you were, what your challenges were, and how you overcame them, your why, and what you're doing now to help people get out of a sticky situation. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. Keep on being a warrior of light, helping people out there become traveling investors, because that's what we love to do. We love to travel and to invest. And so thanks for being here. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, son.
And travelers, we're going to be here same time, same place on Spaceship Earth next week, where we're going to come to you. We're going to demystify the art of mastering your mind, body, and wallet through real estate investing. I'm Nitzan Mosby, the traveling investor. I'm your host. I'll be here next week. Looking forward to seeing you then. Have a wonderful time and happy hunting. Take care, everyone.